A deep longing or desire that would likely not be met, a nondescript feeling of boredom, restlessness, and confinement. Hey, what's up guys, JQ back with Teqreation. So I finally got a chance to spend some time with the Galaxy S9 Plus, and usually I'm all aboard the hype train when it comes to Samsung's latest flagship phones. If you've been following the channel, you'll know. But with this one, it just didn't do it for me. Now I'm gonna keep it real with you guys for a second. If it wasn't for this YouTube channel, I would have not even thought twice about picking up this phone. Because if there's anything that I hate more than rushing content, is having to review a product that I'm not interested in. But for the sake of the channel and for the sake of my loyal subscribers, I'm doing this for you guys, so I guess you can consider this community service. And without further ado, let's start the review. So let's state the obvious, Samsung clearly pushed out the S9 Plus to buy time until their next big release, because this is pretty much one and the same with the Galaxy S8 Plus. Same great battery, we get the same great display, wireless charging, great camera. I could go on and on, but I'll basically just be doing a Galaxy S8 Plus review. So before I really dig into it, I really want to talk about one of the things that I did like about this phone, and that is the improved speakers. So Samsung always had crappy speakers in the past, and I've always praised the iPhone for having great, rich sounding speakers. And Samsung fixed that this time around. So we now get a stereo speaker setup with the earpiece up top, acting as your second speaker. And that bottom speaker this time around sounds a lot richer and a lot more boomy than before. Still not as rich as the iPhone speakers in my opinion, but I would say second best. Music and video is just that much more enjoyable, and it's obvious that Samsung listened to all the complaints because they did a great job with these speakers. This phone in my opinion is the best designed smartphone on the market, period. I mean, not only with this new lilac purple color, but just that the way it feels in the hand, that bezel-less look, the display itself. I mean, everything about this phone aesthetically really fits into modern day times. And if we take a look at other flagship smartphones, Samsung really set the standard to how smartphones should look with that whole bezel-less approach. So that's something that I cannot knock Samsung for. Now, all of the praise aside, the problem with this phone is that the Galaxy S8 Plus offers the same experience visually and physically. So it'd be hard for anyone to justify an almost $1,000 price tag for not much more new. So what were some of Samsung's attempts to differentiate this phone? Well, let's start off with AR emojis. So Samsung's AR emojis are like Animojis on the iPhone, but more like the generic brand. And to sum it up, it's basically Samsung's desperate and embarrassing attempt to compete with the iPhone's Animojis. It does a pretty poor job of trying to bring the Animoji experience to Samsung Galaxy devices, and it's just not happening. So basically, to set up your very own avatar, you have to switch over to the AR emoji tab within the camera app, take either a portrait or a selfie. It's gonna go ahead and process your face and then spit out your very own emoji, along with a bunch of GIFs that you can share with your friends and family. Now, these avatars have a pretty funny resemblance to how you actually look. You can change the hairstyle, you can dress it up if you like, you can add glasses. But the worst part here is that the facial tracking is nowhere near as good as the iPhone X's Animojis. And that's something that I praise the iPhone X for, was its ability to pick up all these little micro expressions in your face. And with the S9 Plus, it's just honestly a really poor attempt to try to replicate that experience. It's a bit glitchy, it doesn't really catch all your movements. Honestly, this is one of those features that you'll use once or twice just to see what it's about, and then you'll forget about it. So the next trick that the Galaxy S9 Plus has up its sleeve is Intelligent Scan, which is basically iris scanning and face recognition combined together to give you a faster and more secure unlocking experience. And not that iris scanning technology is bad or anything, but I've just been so spoiled using Face ID on the iPhone X that in comparison, I just got pretty annoyed using iris scanning. It just seems a lot slower in comparison, and Face ID is just a lot more seamless. It's pretty crazy how as technology evolves, so does your opinion towards it. You know, you never know what's actually better until you experience better. So anyway, because of that, I just keep iris scanning off now, and I use a fingerprint scanner instead. So now, speaking of the fingerprint scanner, they also listened to this complaint and they moved it to a more comfortable and practical location. The initial setup when registering your fingerprints is lightning fast. It's one of the fastest registrations that I've seen on any smartphone, period. But I do appreciate the ability to use fingerprint gestures. Now, this is nothing new for Samsung phones, but it's something I just forgot that this phone was capable of doing, especially that I've been using the Pixel 2 XL lately. Pulling down your notifications from the back is pretty intuitive and I use it several times a day, so being able to keep that same experience coming to the S9 Plus is something I could really appreciate. Sadly, there's not really much else new with the S9 Plus. Its main selling point is the new camera. So basically you now get a variable aperture that allows you to manually switch between f2.4 and f1.5 when you're shooting under the Pro setting. And the idea for this is to give you more control in lower light conditions. Now the other thing is that most people shoot in auto mode anyway, and that's gonna automatically switch between f2.4 and f1.5. Typically that kind of difference on a high-end camera would be very noticeable, but on the S9 Plus I just didn't see that much of a difference. Now sure, yeah, shooting in f1.5 will give you a lot more blur in the background, but my argument is why not just lock the aperture to f1.5 at all times. I think Samsung wanted the S9 Plus to have one cool party trick watching the aperture open and close to make up for the fact that this phone doesn't have any real new features. Personally, a variable aperture doesn't wow me enough to want to switch from the S8 Plus to the S9 Plus. It just doesn't. Now sure, yeah, we do get a second lens as well to shoot portraits under live focus mode, and it does a pretty great job, I would say, but not better than the Pixel 2 XL by any means. But again, the S8 Plus was also able to do this, so this isn't necessarily enticing anyone to want to switch. Now another new feature here is the ability to shoot in super slow motion. But the only downside is you need to be in really good lighting. I'm talking about basically a bright sunny day. Otherwise, trying to shoot this indoors, videos just aren't going to look as great, and that's because it's shooting at such a high frame rate. Now again, I'm not too crazy about that feature. Sure, if the situation calls for it, I might use it. Now if Samsung ever decides to give us super slow motion in 4K, then I might be a lot more excited. In my opinion, they should have focused more on that front-facing camera. Selfies just still look way too soft. They just don't look desirable compared to the competition. And I noticed that this happens a lot more in lower light scenarios when you're taking selfies. Now sure, we do get things like selfie focus, which directly competes with the portrait modes on the iPhone and the Pixel 2 XL. But portrait mode aside, I would like to see this phone be able to take a lot sharper selfies, especially in low light scenarios. Not everyone wants to take portrait mode, you know, sometimes we just want to lift the phone up, take a selfie and then just keep it moving, you know? So, and I just hope whatever Samsung does with their software, they just cut it out in their next Samsung device, because as of now, I've been enjoying taking selfies on the iPhone and the Pixel 2 XL than I have been on the S9 Plus, so that's that. And I know a lot of people like to bash Bixby and they're so biased against Bixby, but I'm actually a big fan of what Bixby is able to do. So if you guys like to see a separate video showing the awesomeness of what Bixby can do, go ahead and drop those comments down below and let me know, and I'll go ahead and bring you guys that video. I know it may sound like I hate this phone, but I really don't. It's a phenomenal phone. Has a great camera, great display, great speakers, wireless charging, water resistance. It has everything, all the party tricks that you could ask for. But so did the Galaxy S8 Plus, and it would be dishonest of me to encourage you guys to run out and go buy this over the S8 Plus because it's just not that much more worth it, especially to spend $1,000 on a phone that's just a little bit new. So yeah, that's my take on the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. It's a pretty phone, but it's also pretty boring as well. So yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. Go ahead and drop those comments down below and let me know if you agree with some of the points I've made, or are you a complete fanboy towards the Galaxy S9 Plus. Go ahead and drop those comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and show me some love by pressing that like button. And if this is your first time on the channel, or if it's not, be sure to subscribe and make sure you turn on those alert notifications so you don't miss out on some more awesome tech videos. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.